What a beautiful day it is. The concrete is grey, the cameras are small and watching me from every possible angle one can imagine, and a big bowl of kiwis is laying right next to me, probably for the voice actor to eat. And speaking of large, wet, green objects that are perfect for both eating and shoving up one's ass, what better way it is to start our spring season reviews than with sequels. This season was a real sequel-apalooza, so in order to deal with this as quickly as possible and go to the actually interesting stuff, let's begin with the obvious runt of the litter, Berserk. Directly following the previous season, Berserk tells us about Guts turning from a lone demon killer into a leader of a typical adventure party of every adventure shonen anime ever. The only problem is that most of the things happening in Berserk are obviously not very child-friendly, and so all of this looks like a deliberate attempt to make the obnoxious fanboys to finally shut up. The graphic quality gone from "Oh god, my eyes!" to "Oh, this looks pretty average" for "Oh god, my eyes!" Which is an improvement, in the same sense that an elephant turd is better for your digestive tract than a human one. If there was any original music in there, I couldn't hear it over all the "Hiya" and "Blood and guts and blood and guts." So there's that. The only thing that definitely caught my attention with this title is that most of the fans have usually only two complaints: that the graphics are shit and that they haven't made something that wasn't the manga, and not complaining about the fact that Berserk is about Guts and Griffith, and every other character in it, with the exception of the retard, is practically cannon fodder that serve only as a distraction from Guts killing everything that gets in his way. What a relief that everyone's standards are so much lower these days, otherwise people might actually do something about the things they disagree with. The usual category of long-ass shonens is represented with Attack on Titan 2 and Boku no Hero Academia, that I'll include here as well because I can't be bothered to actually wait till the show ends. Attack on Titans is basically what I've predicted in my review of the first season. A full-on Titan punk with a good chunk of it devoted to lesbians and their lesbianism and death of people you don't care about. The graphics are awesome and on point. The soundtrack is not only one of the best soundtracks I listened to in the last couple of months, but also, unlike certain other shonens, they don't rely on a single track and 7 billion remixes of it, and the main characters are still grimdark douchebags as they were. It's still the same dumb action flick as in the first season. I still think that this was fucking pointless, and for the average viewer, this season will basically be the final point of no return. If he liked this, he'll like the rest of the bullshit that will inevitably come. Boku no Hero, meanwhile, is the love letter to Western comic industry, made by either a very devoted fan of them, or most likely by a person who knows about them only from Wikipedia and whatever Japanese have for comic reviewers. The story here is that Max Eisenhardt's dream finally came true, and the world was finally cleansed from most of humans and replaced with superior homos, as it should. Our main hero, Izuku Midichlorian, and is basically every underdog hero of every shonen ever created. Short, plucky, overly emotional, highly suicidal, gotten his powers from a literal demi-human. Add a ton of references to Western entertainment media at your discretion. If we compare B&H with AOT, then from a purely technical perspective, Attack on Tacos is far more superior, as the graphics are much more detailed and the music they used is varied, unlike Boku's one track and its 1,000 different variations of. And what's very important for these types of shows, Titan's action scenes are not only visually pretty, but also easy to track, unlike battles in Hero that range from mediocre to what the hell is even happening. Where Boku no Pico is better than Titans, however, is in the storytelling and characters, the most important aspect of a shonen anime. While Titan's protagonist is the usual boring grim face McGrim, the cast of Academia is much more entertaining to watch and has a more diverse set of characters to play with. Still, that doesn't change the fact that both of them are average at best and can only be used as fast food. And as for Boruto, you know, every time I hear something like corporations are governed by humans too, they always have a reason to do what they do, I genuinely laugh a bit. Of course they do. Do you think I'm this grumpy without any reasoning behind it? Only fools will believe otherwise. But that's probably far worse. You see, evil comes in many forms, and one of the easiest evils to deal with is the evil that is evil just for the sake of it. It does so because that's literally part of its nature, what it's best at, without any hard reasoning behind it. And such creatures usually have a strict set of regulations, a rudimentary honor code, if you will, that prevents them from doing evil efficiently, be it some inherent weakness or just a convoluted set of laws that it must maintain. The hardest evil to counter, however, is the evil that does not have this impenetrable set of laws that governs its actions, because without them, the only thing that they're left is their goal, and they will do it disregarding anything and benefit anyone, no matter how good you think your protection is. The fact that sometimes it is a necessary evil only makes it easier for them to brainwash people into submission. The hardest evil to counter is the one that can negotiate. But I've bored you with this pointless dribble long enough. My point here is, I hope you can accept that they're gonna keep this thing and all the rest of them on life support until they milk everything they can out of it, and then they're gonna keep it even longer just to be sure. And unless you will gather up a vigilante group and slaughter every single shareholder on this planet, they will never stop, and there's nothing you or I can do to stop it. In other words...